If you thought the sound card was dead, you're wrong. Guess what? Creative Labs just dropped on us. Time for E3, a brand new sound card. Yes, I know you don't believe it. A brand new sound card like this, like what we all used to use 10 years ago. Of course, this isn't that old. It's an older Fatality card. Dead, I think. This, though, is the Sound BlasterX AE5. I will say that again. Sound BlasterX AE5. Goes for about 150 bucks. It is a sound card for modern PC gaming. Of course, it's been a couple years, maybe 3, since we've seen a new sound card. Might even be 5 years since we've seen one. Things have changed, styles have changed, bell bottoms have gotten wider, and of course, for the big feature, which will drive all gamers, is this. If I can find out, oh, here we go. Lights, right? So now, the Sound Blaster AE5 features integrated digital, clearly digital, because we're controlling each of the individual lights. Digital lighting. Of course, a lot of motherboards do this. If you don't have a new motherboard, though, it's one way to get all the cool new lighting effects controlled by your sound card. Also, the logo itself, you can see on the Sound BlasterX AE5. Lights up, you can change it. You can change, let's try some of the different modes, because that's what you want a sound card for, is the lighting. Yes, that makes a lot of sense to somebody somewhere, but that is the state of PC gaming today and PC gaming fashion. It's all about the lights. Of course, under the hood, this is a sound card. What is different? Creative sort of hinted at this a little while ago, but this card has a 32-bit DAC. Of course, sound cards for many, many years have had 24-bit DACs. This one has a 32-bit DAC. It's a very high-end ESS Sabre, nearly pro-class DAC that they sell. I was looking on ESS website yesterday. Basically, the next step up from this DAC that they're using goes into professional studio mastering equipment. But Creative has jammed this into the new Sound Blaster AE5, and they've also designed their own amp. They said, you know what, no one really is using speakers. The card itself does support 5.1, but they realize most gamers are using great big cans. Some of them use cans that just need a ton, that just have a lot of resistance. So the Sound Blaster AE5 can drive cans up to 600 ohms. And the X amp, Adam just kind of, you didn't see it, he just kind of did that. He did one of these nods. So that's a good thing, I guess, if you're a really can user. They've also designed a new amp that individually drives both channels of the headphones. So instead of using a single amp to drive both, splitting the signal off, of course, it's split up in both. So of course, 32-bit. I'm going to try to remember this because it's a big number, but 384,000 kilohertz sample rate, I think, versus what you might see today is what you might see a 24-bit, 192. This is 32-bit, 384 kilohertz, right? Adam is shaking his head again. He's doing a nod. Okay, that's a good thing. And that, is good, of course, is better because 5 blades on your razor is better than 3 blades. Creative has made the equivalent of a sound card with 5 blades. In fact, I just bought a 5-blade razor myself, so you know it must be better. It's got 5 blades. It's got more numbers. Actually, I was just testing this out using a FLAC file. It's a 24-bit, 92 kilohertz FLAC file that coworker Mike Brown kindly loaned me. I'm not keeping it forever because it's his. I'm not just borrowing it on the USB key. I'm not going to copy and pirate it. I was just listening to it on the Sound Blaster AE. It sounded pretty damn good. But, of course, these days, people aren't replacing sound cards with a sound card. Creative knows if you got you're a PC gamer, you run an onboard motherboard. So I actually went ahead and compared it, just listening quickly, 5 minutes, to the onboard audio on this motherboard. It's an ASUS Maximus 9 code. Let me see if I got that right. ASUS Maximus 9 code. It's a really nice high-end Z270 board. I'm doing most of my Skylake, KP Lake testing on it. It also has a kick-ass audio subsystem. I was looking up the DAC on there. It's actually an ESS DAC too. It's a 24-bit DAC, very high-end as well. But still, you've got a DAC that's down on the motherboard. You've got to deal with a lot of noise. Can you really get it out? Can you really get the noise away from there? This is a dedicated card. I'm basically comparing probably ASUS put in $25 worth of engineering and parts in the audio subsystem in there versus, because that's what their budget allows for audio, versus a sound card that's going to go for 150 bucks. Just listening casually, I'm going to do more polling of coworkers. I'll ask Adam, I'll ask Mike. I actually preferred the Sound Blaster. It sounded a little richer, a little fuller. Of course, I didn't really get a chance to sort of zero them against each other. But even though the Maximus 9 has a 24-bit DAC and is supposedly pretty good motherboard audio, it sounded a little tinny to me compared to the Sound Blaster. Am I just dazzled by the lights though? I don't know. But let's go ahead and pull the card out. I'm going to show it to you because it's a bummer to not actually be able to see the sound card. So I'm going to shut this down. Oh wait, it wants a Windows update, so I'm going to shut it down the right way. I'm just going to pull the power. So now the card is screwed into the system, of course. Sorry about that. Let's get this out. Can I get it out? No, I need a screwdriver. Let's see, what else do you need to know about? I'm going to try to talk about the AE5 while I unscrew the sound card from the system. There is actually something Creative says they've improved on. It's called the Scout 2. I couldn't get it to work. Clearly this product is not final, software is not final, but of course the Scout feature supposedly amplifies footsteps around you to know if somebody's sneaking up behind you in Counter-Strike or some game. This new mode apparently has a visualizer mode with the radar, which is kind of similar to what ASUS does with their sonar that they have on some of their sound cards. ASUS, thank God, is another vendor that is still making sound cards. I don't know who's still buying them, but I'm glad people are, because audio is still important. So let's look at the card itself. Let me get up here. For scale, this is an old dead Sound Blaster Fatality Edition. Wendell made some money off that, right? Pretty bare basic. Kind of all black. Gaming 5-10 years ago. Of course, now we have all the lights. We have a digital connector. Looks like you can just buy more LED digital lights, string them along so you can light up your whole system controller from it. Of course, you can't have just plain old black PCB anymore. It's got to have the cool colors. They got that. So Creative has hit that. On the card itself, you do have a front panel connector, so you can wire up your front case audio ports to this. Yeah, it's convenient. Don't do it because there's no point in running a great big long wire through your case and picking up all that extra noise. I gotta say, I'm not really happy with this. Creative added a 5-volt a Molex connector to power up the LEDs. That's all fine and good, but this is not 1999, and trying to find a Molex in a modern PC is pretty tough. This should have been a SATA connector, which there still is 5 volts supposedly carried on SATA. I would prefer SATA because there's a lot more SATA connectors in a case than there is Molex these days. And of course, it is just simply a by one PCIe, probably Gen 2. You don't really need a lot of bandwidth out of there. For connectors, optical toslink. It does support 5.1. You get your 3 analogs out. Here is the headphone jack. Of course, you have the separate amplifier for both channels, and you can drive 600 ohm cans, right? And your microphone input. If you don't want the lights, of course, you can just pull it out, not run the lights. Hey, that's cool. This card supposedly should be on sale, I'm going to guess, within a couple months. Again, $150, brand new Sound Blaster AE5. We're going to be putting it through its paces, putting it against motherboard audio. I really don't think people care about how this sounds against other sound cards. Maybe the ASUS card, except. But I do think for the most part we want to see how it sounds against really good motherboard audio and whether you should spend your hard-earned dollars on it or not.